Avatar: The Last Airbender. Was it the homage to the original series that it should have been? Or is every important theme and principle dashed upon the rocks of for modern audiences? Welcome to this evening's episode of Balanced Takes, and I'm your host, Song Eternal. I'm not going to hide the ball here. I watched Netflix's version of the Avatar: The Last Airbender, and honestly, I just feel disjointed and gross.
No! Sweet liberty!
If you're a person who watched the original cartoon, I'd say give it a watch. I think it was entertaining. I think there are areas that it did well in, but overall I'd say it's difficult to really give it a good, solid overall rating. If you put a gun to the back of my head in an alley and forced me to do it, I'd say 6 out of 10, but honestly there were parts that were 11 out of 10, and then there were parts that were 0 out of 10. Like, in parts that were amazing, were outstanding, and the parts that were horrible were so disjointed and pulled me out of the scene so much that a lot of the scenes that were supposed to be impactful, I frankly just started rolling out laughing.
I have seen a security hologram of him killing younglings.
Not Anakin.
Almost no point in this series where things are just average. They're either better than average, or worse than average, or amazing and horrible. Nothing's just average. It's like saying a flight from Earth to Mars was mostly uneventful, even though the Russians on board your vessel attempted a coup halfway there, and on the way back you were bombarded by an asteroid storm that turned out to be an alien armada skipping through the solar system. Sure, for the most part, the journey was uneventful, but oh boy. No, I'm not joking, it's a ride. So I'm going to try to break down in different sections what I liked about it and kind of what I didn't without going into too many details. Because I assume that's why you're here. You want to have a synopsis of it and find out if you should watch it, which, by the way, yes, you should. And you want to know generally what to look for. Obviously, there will be spoilers in this, but I will say ahead of time that I don't think that the spoilers are really worth not spoilering. There's nothing really in there that's cataclysmically special. If you've watched the original series, then just watch it. But in case you do care about spoilers for some reason, there, I said it. Casting is really a mixed bag. I would say it's mostly good. Azula in the Avatar series compared to live action, she had this strange round face thing going on, which I don't really know why, but compared to the cartoon, but I guess it's fine. They don't have to mimic it one-to-one. It was just a little strange when you had the big Azula reveal and you're expecting to see this young, mad tyrant, and instead you see this seemingly mostly kind, passive person. It was a little strange, but I think overall the actress carried it off pretty well. Her sisters, May and Ty Lee, they don't have much of a role in this season, so I have no opinion. Sokka, I have very strong opinions about. So, going into this, they had all these little interviews talking about how they're changing Sokka, and they changed him a lot. They removed a lot of the boyishness and removed all the lessons that he was supposed to learn, which I thought was a little frustrating. But now, seeing the series, I know why they did that. I don't necessarily agree, but I don't necessarily disagree. Overall, I think they did Sokka actually justice. They aged him. They aged Sokka and Katara quite a bit, honestly. I had the feeling that in the original series, Aang was supposed to be 13 or 9, and Sokka and Katara were supposed to be around maybe 14, 15, 16, pushing it, but really, they're pretty young. In this series, oh boy, Sokka comes off somewhere between 17 to 21 years old, and Katara is like somewhere between 16 to 19 years old. And as a result of them aging up the characters, of course, they have to age up the themes, age up how the characters interact. And when you first meet Sokka, he's this young adult who's trying to take over for his father. And obviously there's a lack of adults and a lack of benders in the village from repeated Fire Nation attacks and raids over the years. He has this pressing need and pressing desire to keep everyone around him safe. I think in terms of male characters, they did him just spot on. His casting was perfect. His acting was well done. I think, especially compared to the original series, I would actually say that Sokka is an upgrade from the original series, because I think the original series had a lot of times where Sokka was kind of being the silly relief, which is fine and all, but I actually disagree with a lot of people who watched it and think that Sokka was too much comic relief, and I think they made him too silly. I think for this live action, they have taken him and made him much more serious, but they've still kept the element of comic relief where he's kind of sees things as ook man kind of reaction to things, and it's actually kind of funny to see. For instance, in the very beginning when he and Katara find Aang in the giant orb or whatever, he's more preoccupied with getting the boat back because, well, they need the boat to get back home. And then when Aang pops out of the orb, he's like, wow, that's something. So anyway, about getting back home, it's kind of funny watching because that's Sokka. And if you actually try to think about his behavior and rationalize his behavior, it makes sense. In his mind, there's been enough problems in life. There's been enough problems with the tribe. He has all this responsibility on his shoulders. We don't have time to be goofing off. I'm sorry, okay, a random person popped out of an ice cube. I'm pretty sure everyone in the sun saw that, and we probably should have nothing to do with it, so bye. He is absolutely obsessed with trying to keep everyone safe, and I think that's actually a good thing. I think they turned his male protectionism up, to dial it up to 11. And in terms of a masculine character on screen, I'm actually surprised they're capable of doing it. Katara, I think she fulfilled her role pretty well. She is still the mothering, kind person she always is. And when it's time to give someone a little water whiplash, she's capable of doing that. I wouldn't say she made a particularly lasting impression. I think she does well as an actress. I think she did well in the series. I say nothing really changed with Katara, except for her age. That was about it. Everything else was spot on. And that's okay. Aang, I think, looks perfect for the part, but I don't think the kid can act. And that really frustrated me towards the beginning and towards the middle and somewhat towards the end, because there were a lot of lines that were frankly just awful in the first place, but having him read them was even more awful. For instance, if he was supposed to say something like, I need to get to the water temple, because that's my destiny, he would just be like, I need to get to the water temple because that's my destiny. And you're like, oh, okay. And then in scene, boom, it's over. Wrap it up, guys. Let's go home. He did not carry his lines well at all. And a lot of it just seems like he was literally reading it live on script while they're filming, and just have this lines in the background behind the camera. There was no impact or emotion behind what he said. A lot of it you could get away with because he's a kid. But I'd be fair in my criticisms. And being fair in my criticism is highlighting both that he's a kid and that he also can't act. Ozai, I've seen a lot of people complaining about him online, but I think Ozai was carried off fairly well as well. Ozai was portrayed as a very reserved tyrant, but only as so much as he was oriented towards the goal of having his kingdom reign supreme and having his children capable of ruling after him. And I think in terms of rulers, I was not expecting them to be able to carry off the nuance. Honestly, I expected him just to do bad father, tyrant bad, blow fire kind of thing, but he really didn't. He was very intentioned in everything he did, and I think that led credence to him being a good character, and I look forward to seeing him more in the future. Suki is well done. She's a good actress, perfect for the role. I have no thoughts or opinions here. If you're a Suki fan, there are some parts you're definitely going to enjoy. When it comes to the actual lines, they're all over the board. Some parts of it are amazing, and when it follows the original story, it's obvious. When they don't follow the original story, it's blatantly obvious because they will just blurt out whatever the next thing they need to do is, or whatever the thought in their head is, as if, again, like they're just reading off the script live, and it's really frustrating. And the moment they veer off, it becomes frighteningly obvious because all the lines just turn to pure vomit immediately. You'll see Sokka say something one scene that you're like, ha! He said that in the original series. Guys, that was pretty funny. And then next line you'll get something like, I need to save everyone. And you're like, okay. And you'll have moments where, right after an in-depth scene where you have all this deep emotion being conveyed, you'll have Aang read off a script as if the cutscene in a video game just ended and they had to remind you where you're going next. Yeah, the lines, honestly, in the show, I kind of hate them.
Thanks, I hate it.
Kind of a mixed bag, just like the lines. There are times where when it followed the original series was awesome, and it's obvious that they had good inspiration for half things that are done. Further and further it goes, it's obvious that they decided to diverge from where the original creators did things, and when they did so, it becomes obvious because everything becomes crushed, rushed, and otherwise mushed. There's just not enough coherence. I think part of it is because they only did 8 episodes, which I think was a very, very poor idea. I don't know if they didn't have a budget to do more than that. Honestly, this should have been a full 12, perhaps even 16 episodes. but because of that, they took a bunch of things that happened way later in the series and shoved them in early on in ways that don't make a whole lot of sense. And because of that, in the very last episode where they have to fend off the Fire Nation attack against the Northern Water Kingdom, it's all so fast and so rushed. You have this surge of adrenaline because it's awesome. What you see on screen is amazing, and you're connecting with it, and then it's over. It was very climactic and instantly anticlimactic, and you feel left off wondering, where the other half of this go? Now I'm looking forward to seeing the next season, yes. However, I feel like it should be in the first season. It's just dropped. It's a cliff. It's not even a cliffhanger. It's just a cliff. Not that make any sense. Overall, I say it felt like an amusement park ride where the highs are just way too high and the parts that are fast are just way too fast. But the rest of it was okay. It was pretty fun, actually. And then when you step off the ride, you're unsure if you're about to throw your guts up or if you want to go back on for round 2. And that's about how I felt. I don't think that's a good impression for a show to leave. And that lends credence to the fact that I see a lot of people either fighting or arguing about the characters online or saying that it was amazing and it was fine. Because honestly, parts they changed, they didn't really need to change. Except for the aging out part, I thought that was awesome. I thought that was a benefit. And if you're looking to see the Avatar: Last Airbender live action, I say go for it. I think you'll probably enjoy it. I think the bending they had in the show was amazing. Just seeing all the different forms, seeing them actually honor the style of the original show, and seeing even if they pulled stunt actors to pull off the moves, I think they did an amazing job. I didn't notice anything really weirdly kinetic going on. They didn't do a ton of stupid jump cuts. You got to see for the most part what the action was and what all the bending moves and styles were. And you got to recognize when someone was earth bending water, for instance. You could recognize, you're like, oh, they're doing the thing, I can see it. And yes, in case you're curious, they have a cabbage scene.
My cabbages!
Yeah, but those are just my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section down below if you want to see Avatar: Last Airbender, or, well, if you saw it and you just think it sucks. And I'll see you again next time. Bye!